Okay, it's game day. Let's do a little bit of a preview about Ohio University and a bit of a vibe check on what's going on with the vibes around Rutgers and Rutgers athletics. Let's get to it. Okay, so today is a game day. We've talked about expectations for the season. You're seeing a lot of stuff on YouTube now by the Rutgers community, Night Report guys, and NewJersey.com, Rutgers Rant, Scarlet Faithful, and the rest. Larry, let's do a bit of a preview for Ohio versus Rutgers, and this is a little bit of a closer matchup that you might think, not on the field, but we're talking about Rutgers, the 8th oldest university in the country. And who's number 9? As you may have guessed, and I wouldn't have guessed this, I've known this for a while now, but kind of surprised. Ohio University, the 9th oldest university in the country. And take a look at this building here. It's not Rutgers. So a little bit in common there. So Ohio University, when Frank Solich went to Ohio several years back, I was like, wait, what? What? You're going from Nebraska to Ohio? But although he didn't reach the pinnacle, he did a pretty good job of building a program. He went 4-7 in his first season 20 years ago. But over the next 15 years, he had just one losing season. And as Greg Schiano has talked about when he talks about Ohio, winning, 10 years in a row, whatever it is, that consistency is sort of what he's looking for, which is why I kind of think he saw Iowa as a program that we could or should or look to emulate. They're not a powerhouse. They're just pretty good every year. Nonetheless, he passes the baton to Tim Albin, who went 3-9 his first year. But then over the next 3 seasons, we all know how they've won 10 games 2 years in a row. MAC championship last year against Miami of Ohio. They ended last year strong. Now, I don't know if there's a thing about momentum. They've lost some guys. We'll get to that in a second. But, they had their way with Miami of Ohio, Jacksonville State, the new home of Gavin Wimsatt. We'll get to that in a second. And so there's a little bit of the background. When did we play them? It was an uninspiring win. I want to say 2010, 11, 12, somewhere around there. It was like 38-26 or something. We beat Ohio at home. Nonetheless, here are some previewing of what they're going through and what the game, how the game may play. They're sort of like us in that they lost guys and they replaced guys, and they have some new coaches, and they lose their athletic director, Julie Cromer, to, you guessed it, LSU. A lot of moving parts these days, not just because of transfer portal and NIL, but coaches and athletic directors as well. Nonetheless, regarding the players, Ohio loses guys, a fair amount of guys on defense. Their secondary kind of remains intact, and they're a pretty good secondary. They were a very good defense last year, but they got some new guys up front. The offense, they lose a lot of their offensive line, which, when you're playing in the Big Ten and you have a physical advantage over your other team, that's something hopefully that you can exploit. But their core offensive skill players are still there. And let's get to the guy that Greg Shannon was talking about as a dual threat, and that's quarterback Parker Navarro, who led Ohio to a offense that was ranked top 50 in the nation, 405 yards per game. You know, they're a big. We've been talking about Rutgers. At least I have, and I think some of the guys at the Night Report recently. Are they a Big 12 team? They're retooled for offense, but so-so defense. When you look at Ohio, they had a Big 12 offense. They passed for about 192 yards per game, and they rushed for about 213 yards per game. So they're going to have a balanced attack around 400 yards per game. That's something that I wish we can do. Kirk Shirovka had some of those teams at Minnesota, so maybe that's something that's in the cards for us. You know, they were top 15 in rushing yards average. They tied for ninth in rushing touchdowns. Points per game are about the same that we were towards the end of the year, 29 points per game. They don't turn the ball over a whole lot. They third down percentage, just under 50%, around 47.6%, which is very good, and 60% on fourth down. But when we look at Parker Navarro, we know in the past we've had issues with those dual threat quarterbacks. Taking a quick look at his numbers, he was 195 for 245, 66.1%, which is a really good completion percentage. But it's really strange. The numbers don't tell the whole story because he had 13 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. So his interception rate is pretty high. That's 3.8%, 3.7%. So, you know, he threw for 2,423 yards. So what I haven't watched any film, but I'm guessing that because they like to run the ball and they probably run out of different formations using different running backs, that they also will have some passing sets out of those running formations, not unlike what the Jets are probably going to do this year with Justin Fields and their running game. They're not looking to wing it downfield. They're not looking to spread them out. So running or throwing out of those running formations, I'm guessing they're not getting a lot of high percentage passes down the seam underneath, not throwing it downfield, not using a traditional pro set. And by the way, that's not unlike, talking about Big 12 teams, Kansas State, who also wanted to run first, pass off the running game. They averaged about 216 yards per game rushing, 210 yards per game passing. Remember, they kind of ran all over. Xavier Johnson, the quarterback, was only 15 for 30. He was not terribly accurate, 195 yards. But he had 57 yards rushing, and Kansas State overall, what they have, 340, 350 yards. So, like that Big 12 Kansas State kind of offense, Ohio doesn't want to run it first, but they're going to have a dual threat quarterback who could present some problems for you. You won't necessarily have to worry about his downfield passing, but you don't want to give them too many opportunities at explosive plays. But gone is their running back tandem from last year, Anthony Tyus II and Ricky Hunt. Tyus, Northwestern transfer. His first game against Syracuse, he had 200 yards. And he wound up with 1,215 yards, rushing 9 touchdowns, not dissimilar from Kyle. Combined, Hunt and Tyus had 300 carries, 1,500 yards, and 11 touchdowns. That's really put up good production. I'd have to say, if we got that had a CJ and Antoine Raymond, that would be pretty good. The only back that's back on the team is their third string running back, Duncan Brune. But they get he had 84 yards and a touchdown last year. But they get a guy back who started off with Ohio, went to Minnesota, now he's back at Ohio. And that's Say Bangura. He returns from Minnesota, didn't get much action. But when he was with Ohio, he was back freshman of the year. He accounted for over 2,000 yards from scrimmage, 23 touchdowns in 2 years as a starter. So that might be a guy to worry about. So some keys that you don't want Bangura to get Bashal Tutin type explosive plays. Remember last year, Tutin had a couple really good runs against us, explosive runs. Don't want that to happen. So one of the keys is you need to manage the run. It's okay. Let them get some yards, but no big plays, no explosive runs, especially before the end of the first half. In the running game, if they get their 130 yards rushing for the game, but you keep them out of the end zone, I guess that's okay. Ideally, you want to shut them down, put pressure on the quarterback, who was prone to interceptions, but nonetheless, manage the running game and get pressure on the quarterback to force him into inaccurate throws, especially on those run-pass options where he's not real comfortable throwing the ball downfield to receivers. So, we weren't good in the red zone last year. So if we can keep Ohio from getting to the red zone, that'll be a plus. But we absolutely have to get better in the red zone because it was Aaron Brightman, on with the guys from the Night Report past couple of days, has said in the red zone, we were not very good 70% of the time, giving up touchdowns. We can't have that happen. So let's manage that running game. No explosive plays, getting downfield, getting into scoring position, and at the same time getting enough pressure. And this is another key, getting pressure from our new outside guys to get in the face of a quarterback who's prone to throw some interceptions and has a pretty high interception percentage. So along with that comes managing off-script plays. I mean, we always used to sweat, the backup quarterbacks. Historically, it kind of became a joke after a while how backup quarterbacks, especially ones with mobility, would hurt us. So let's, if Navarro, what happened to us a lot last year is we get some pressure, get in a guy's face, couldn't tackle him, couldn't get him down. So when Navarro starts to scramble, don't give him opportunities to make a play. Hit him, knock him around, take him off his game. If it's third and long, don't let him scramble for a first down. We did a decent job at home a couple years ago against Kyron Jones. He was at that time the backup quarterback who was the guy that was impressing in camp, and he was more of a runner than passer. And we did a pretty decent job against him. And with Ohio, they're going to at least did rush it about 60% of the time, threw it about 40% of the time. So their strength of wanting to run the ball is our weakness of getting gashed in the running game last year. So our front seven 1-6, 1-6, 1-7, whatever sets that we run, are going to have to do a good job. They're going to have to bottle things up. It doesn't have to be a dominant performance, but let's manage it. And, Ohio last year was top 20 in yards per rush, yards per game, rushes per game, rushing yards per game. So we know what they want to do. And we know what we have to do because of the trouble we had last year. So being able to prevent a repeat of last year will be a key in the game. And on the flip side, we need to figure out how our ground game is going to shake out. We don't have to have one guy having a big game, but with the running game has to be fluid and efficient enough to be able to set up manageable passing situations and take some shots. The one week, even though Ohio's secondary is pretty good and these guys are back, they were susceptible to the passing game. So take what the defense gives you while taking some shots when they're there. And also you see Jay Campbell out of the backfield. Can we please complete some screens? Those plays, long screen passes are backbreakers quite often. And get DT in space, like doing Daimir, although I wish Daimir had a little more explosive plays hitting him underneath it. Always seemed to come up a yard or two short on third and long, second and long. Let's get him in space and course some yards after the catch, and just soften up that defense to the point where we have balance. We're efficient and effective on the ground, efficient and effective in the passing game. And can we please, and I know Kirk Shiraka doesn't like to use the tight end, because can we at least try some of that in the first game of the year against the MAC opponent? So those are some keys on what we have to do defensively, stopping the run, getting in the face of Parker Navarro, and at the same time, our ability to establish our new style of running game and taking some shots in our passing game and spreading the ball around. Ohio last year did not commit a lot of penalties. We're not a highly penalized team. Neither were we. Don't be sloppy. Don't give a team coming into New Brunswick, playing a Big Ten team, don't make some mistakes and give them opportunities to build any momentum. So be methodical and efficient that way. If we can, I don't want to say be conservative, because a team like, when you're playing a team from the MAC, and Greg Schiano is not the kind of guy that's going to look to reinvent the wheel. But you can have that balance between hopefully being a physically more superior and talented team, and how by the end of the game taking advantage of that and grinding them down, but also show that off your athleticism and your skill set and make some big plays. So now is an opportunity to try that against the MAC team. That's pretty good. They were number 43 in points per game. They were number 36 in yards per game. I don't think they're going to roll over. Sometimes in these games we get a little bit off to a slow start, and then we pick up momentum late, and we pull away late. That might happen tomorrow. We might be in the first half and like saying, "Oh man, this game is closer than it needs to be." But in the end, I think we pull away, and I know I'm going to say 41-27 Rutgers as the defense. All the new guys get their feet wet. I think the spread's about 14 and a half, so I'm right around that. But I think this won't be all that dissimilar from the game that we had against them 10, 12, 15 years ago, whenever it is. So good luck to our Scarlet Knights, and let's do a little vibe check on what's going on around Rutgers. You know, some notes and things of interest. Baylor offers one of our commits, defensive lineman Respect, 6'5", 250-pound recruit. Baylor jumping in there and offering him. And so, you know, this is the new frontier where guys that we're signing, people are chasing after. So that's a little bit of a tidbit. Knight Report posted guys that were signed to 53 man roster yesterday. It's pretty much the same as it was last year. With the exception of Kyle and who else? That'll come to me in a second. But Hunter Pierce signs to the Eagles practice squad. So good on Holland. I think he's in a good spot. Good offensive line coach and close to home. So we wish him well. And I'll see if I can pull up who else. Knights in the NFL kind of thing. But let's get to, and I spoke a little bit about this when we first landed Kelly's in, and I wanted to talk to it about it a couple videos ago, but I totally forgot. Don't get old, you forget stuff. So Kelly spoke again, and and I've said this in my first couple videos about her, she's more like a business person than an athletic director. She comes across like a business person speaking at a conference. She's comfortable with it. She's good at it. She uses some of the platitudes. But the thing to take away from it, and you know, I talk a lot about reading Greg Schiano's body language and his communication style and what it is he's saying and what he's not saying to get a sense of what's actually going on when he's not actually telling you what's going on. But I knew, and I said in my videos, that I think Schiano and Kelly would get along very well. I think their personalities complement each other, and they have similar personality styles. And lo and behold, the two of them hit it off, at least initially, with Kelly saying, I would say our relationship could not be better right now. We established just a really good chemistry. I came into it impressed with what he had done here from a historical standpoint, but then getting an understanding of what's transpired since he's been back and how he's worked through things. Coach had to do a lot of it on his own. Good vibes. The vibes around athletic department are increasing. And she's politically savvy. She's playing the politics correct, but she also talked about the minor sports and Olympic sports, not just football and basketball, which places like LSU, that's what it's going to be about, and baseball. She says it's not just about football. I think when folks hear that out of the gate, you can have some parties who say football, football, football. I wouldn't mind that so much. When in reality here, it actually helps a lot of our other programs, trickle down. There's just way too much congestion, particularly within the practice bubble. So a revamping of the space. We need to be in a place, if we're going to recruit the best talent, for them not to have interruptions in their training and development. And right now, there's so much that goes on in the bubble. And, that's a New Jersey and a Rutgers thing. Congestion, man, that's what we're about. We like to jam stuff into places, into small spots, and then make it impossible to get there. You can see it, but you can't get there, at least not in good time. I've talked about Rutgers' disjointed campus and the feel of a commuter campus a whole lot, the congestion, lack of continuity of a traditional campus feel. It doesn't flow correctly. I always felt driving by going by the golf course from the yellow lot to the stadium. The golf course just kind of interrupts the flow of the campus. There's something that we can do to connect a athletic complex to the bubble, to the stadium, to the academic buildings, and make it a little more manageable. But that's a big job that would require lots of money, lots of planning, and lots of talent to redesign it. And so the physical part of it, and she seems to be changing. When she first came in, it seemed like she wouldn't be adverse to tearing the rack down and starting anew and creating the kind of environment you need for a Big Ten program. We talked about how she was seriously looking to tear down the Pete Maravich Center in LSU. Pete Maravich, you guys don't know who he is, just YouTube him, 44 points per game at LSU. But now it seems like she's coming to an understanding that it's going to be a remodel. And, I don't know. Yes, the trapezoid of terror is kind of like a historic cultural thing for us. And I've talked about how 70s architecture, really weird. And yes, the sound travels up in a certain way. But the remodels ever turn out spectacularly? Sometimes it's better to tear down and start anew, but she's probably up against the realities of the time, money, and effort to be able to do something like that. So I think she probably realized and has probably been shown the numbers, and she's like, yeah, this is going to have to be a remodel. But I know from remodeling my townhouse, you can't do a little here, do a little there. I had to basically rip up everything to get it the way that I want. We'll see if that happens. But the big thing is going to be for her to stand out in the New York Philly marketplace. We have low fundraising totals. I've talked about this ad nauseum. We don't have a loyal alumni because we don't have a state university with an identity. I'll talk about the Moral Act in a couple seconds that established, state universities. We've had a tough time breaking through. And she talks about getting the right people in the right place to cultivate those relationships, to be able to generate revenue. And she's optimistic it can happen. And you got to appreciate that. But you can't just go into it wide-eyed, New York, I'm coming in, New York, New York. There's a lot of things you're going to have to fight to. I appreciate her style, her approach, her positivity, understanding the nuances of life in North Jersey, New York, Philadelphia area. Time will tell if her vision becomes a reality. She has a vision. She understands what she wants to do. But this is New Jersey, and we're built a little different, and having to navigate the obstacle course that is politics, fundraising, marketplace fandom, how they see Rutgers, support by alumni, support by the state, support by the media. There's if you ever get a chance, there's a video on YouTube called "The Death of College Football in the Northeast," and it talks about how college football literally was invented here. But we're different. So when the Moral Act, I think it was 1862, was established to help create and fund state universities, other states, the way that they went about building their higher education was by establishing universities named after the state. With Rutgers, it was a little different. It wasn't like, oh, okay, let's have, University of New Jersey or New Jersey State University. Funding from the Moral Act went to like Rutgers Scientific School. So we were always taking baby steps with specific narrow focus on building higher education, which not only prevented us from having a University of New Jersey, New Jersey State University, but in the mid to late 50s, right before I was born, it's like, well, now we don't have a state university. Let's deem Rutgers it. Pure genius, New Jersey politics at work. Nonetheless, this video, The Death of College Football in the Northeast, talks about a lot of those issues, and hopefully Kelly Zinn can navigate some of those and manage some of those and retool, because I think Rutgers athletics is a retooling job, but it will be connected to how the university grows its influence and reputation from an academic standpoint, in addition to the NIL and player movement and all those sorts of things that are going on right now. One last thing. Gavin Wimsatt. We wish him well. He was a good dude. Was not a great passer of the football. When it was 3rd and 4, I had no problem with him running the ball. I figured we had a better chance of Gavin getting a first down on an RPO run than passing it. He is now at Jacksonville State. It was pretty good last year. I think what was they, 9-4? They were 8-4. Maybe they lost their bowl game, but they were pretty good. After 1 year at Kentucky, he is named for the starter against UCF and Scott Frost. And some of the quotes from their coaching staff, I've been very pleased from day one. He's been an extremely coachable kid, person, and enjoyable to coach. Everything we asked him to do from top to the bottom, on and off the field, that's why hopefully he's seen some improvements. I've seen a lot from him, and we're going to continue to do that. And, that's Gavin. We liked him. He just couldn't live up to the expectations of being a 4-star recruit. 4-year career, 33 games, 2,824 yards, 17 touchdowns, 21 interceptions. And by the way, Jacksonville State lost to Ohio last year. Close game, 30-27. And they were Conference USA champs. So good luck to Gavin. Good vibes around the university. Everybody enjoy opening day. I'm going to be in the yellow lot in a little bit. Everybody have a great day and great night. And hopefully we have good stuff to talk about tomorrow. And we'll see you the next time.